Greetings everybody. Right, this is a little bit of a change from my normal videos. I just wanted to do a quick video of another hobby of mine, which is flight simulator. This is software called Xplane, Xplane 10, which I got on Steam for 22 quid or something, and it really is fantastic. This particular aircraft I'm flying is 737. It's a free aircraft, but it has a flight management computer and all the system simulation and stuff that I paid another 20 quid for. So this whole setup only cost me 40 quid. Let me just increase the size of the window here. Alright, so the reason that I want to do this video is this is one of the approaches that I enjoy flying. We're actually at Innsbruck airport in Austria at the moment, and as you can see, it's fairly mountainous. If I sort of pan around here, you'll see what I mean. It's one of the most dangerous approaches in the world to fly. I'm not a pilot, but it's just something I enjoy doing, practicing. As you can see, very mountainous, lots of danger, lots of things to crash into, including the airport that I've just gone through. But yeah, as you can see, it is very mountainous. I'll change to a different view. Yeah, so you can basically see the challenge to land on this runway here. There's two runways. We're going to do a landing on 08. This is runway 24. This is runway 08, and as you can see, you can't do an actual approach into the airfield directly because there's a big ass mountain in the way. What you have to actually do is you have to approach the airport down this valley, then you have to go around, do the base leg above these ridges, fly down here, and roughly around this point here you then do a sort of a circling approach to land on the runway here. Like I say, it is quite tricky. You've got to follow the procedures pretty much to the letter before, or you'll kind of end up as a crater in one of these mountains. But it's nothing if not a challenge, and so that's what we're going to get on with. So let's get into the cockpit. Here we are. I'm just going to have to set up a few things. I'm going to do it really fast. Like I say, I'm not a pilot. Just going to fill the aircraft with some fuel. We'll have 5,000 kilograms. Quick refuel. I need to turn the aircraft on. I need to toggle ground power. We're currently on battery power. Ground power is available apparently, so we shall turn that on. We'll turn the electrical systems on, and you should be able to start hearing the aircraft as everything spools up. So we're now on ground power. We need to start the APU, so we'll turn on the fuel pumps. Set the APU to start. Oops. So if my buttons start playing, yeah, start. This gauge will let us know when it's ready. There'll be a blue light that appears here saying that the APU is available, and the APU basically, in a nutshell, means that the aircraft is self-powered, so we can switch the electrical systems over to the APU, turn off the ground, and yeah, the aircraft's ready to go by itself. You should be able to hear that spooling up actually. I'll just turn on a few things in the meantime, just to get us up and running. Oops. Make sure everyone can breathe. And then I'll run through what it is that we're actually going to do. Just turn the fans on. So it says APU is available, so let's switch over to APU. Turn off the ground power. So now the aircraft is it's fully configured to use the APU. Oops. See, if we switch to APU, we're getting 27 volts apparently, 100 and odd amps. Basically the power's working, so we can turn everything on, turn the seatbelt signs on, because obviously we're going to need those with me in charge. Let's turn some lights on. What next? Let's check we've got some fuel. Now for some reason this hasn't fueled, so I'm going to request some fuel again. Make a fuel request. 5,000, quick refuel. Has it put it in yet? No, it hasn't. No, why hasn't it? That's strange. Bear with me. Maybe is the I'm not sure what's going on there. Make a fuel request. Quick refuel. Right, now we have some fuel, which is always handy. Right, so I'm gonna just go into the map and show you what's gonna happen. So here we are. We're at the airfield. We're parked. These aircraft are just the AI stuff. If they appear on the approach, I'm not going to do any go-arounds because they can't kill you by flying into you. Just ignore them. But yeah, basically we're parked here. We're going to taxi down to the runway, turn around and take off on a heading of 84 degrees. We are going to get to about here. First thing we're going to do is head towards the Rattenberg NDB, which is a navigation beacon over here. Frequency 303, and by the time we get there we need to be at 11,000 feet because, as you can see, we've got a lot of mountains in the way. So we're going to basically fly up this valley. We'll be flying on, like I say, 84 degrees until about here, and then we'll change to 60 degrees, which will take us across this NDB. When we get there, we'll begin our turn. We're going to make a right hand turn as if we're going to round that, and we're going to make that turn to 210 degrees, which will get us to about here. And at that point we'll actually intercept a VOR radial at 255 degrees. It's this one here, you can't quite see it in there, but it's frequency 11110, and that, if you imagine, that's sort of sending an imaginary path out this way, which is basically going to direct us to the airport. So once we've done our turn, we'll get to about here, we'll intercept that radial, and we'll turn to a heading of 255 degrees, and we'll be at 11,000 feet above these peaks. And as we're following towards the airport, we'll be descending to 5,000 feet, and we need to be at 5,000 feet by the time we get to this NDB here, which is Absam. And when we get to there, we actually need to make a turn to 230 degrees, which will take us to the Innsbruck navigation beacon. And just before we get to the Innsbruck navigation beacon, we actually need to make a turn for our base leg, which will be to 264 degrees, which will take us down this way. And once we reach around here, we'll be doing our circling turn to do our final approach into the runway, and hopefully not crashing. So just a quick overview. We're going to take off, we're going to fly on 084 degrees, then we're going to change to 060 degrees to the Rattenberg NDB. We're going to do a right turn around it, intercept the 255 radial down towards Absam. When we get to Absam, we're going to do 230 to Innsbruck, and then we're going to do 264 to do our final approach. So it'll just be like a nice kind of oblong. And simple as that, really. So let's get cracking. Back into the aircraft. What we need to do now is we've got APU power, so I'm going to start the engines. I'll just check everything. The first thing we do is to set the trims, so I'm just going to set that away. It takes a while, this. We can see the trim indicator there, that little triangle there, is actually moving down. I want to move it down to about there, which is 6, a trim setting of 6. Normally you would use this flight management computer, which basically computes the trim and see center of gravity and takeoff speeds and everything like that. I'm just going to wing it because I just basically want to show you how to fly this approach. So that should be roughly about it. I'll just stop that. Yeah, we're just about 6, and that'll basically hold our pitch as we're climbing out on the speeds and stuff that we're going to set up now. So I'm going to set a speed of about 180 for our takeoff climb. Like I said, we were going to be heading on a heading of 84 degrees. We're going to climb to 11,000 feet. If I just set that to 11,000. These are the autopilot settings, by the way. I'm going to arm auto throttle. I'm going to turn on the flight director, which basically tells us the pitch settings that we need to be at to maintain that level of climb. I'm going to set the RTO setting on the auto brake, so that RTO means rejected takeoff, so if there's a problem when we take it off, there won't be, but if there was, it would just automatically pull the spoilers up and get the aircraft stopped. We need flaps 5. Actually, first we need to start the engines, so I'm going to spool this up. We've got the APU running. I'm going to set the APU to be the Yep, that's it. Set the APU so that we can get the engine started with the airflow. So now all I've got to do is monitor this. We have to wait for N2, which is I think it's the turbine speed, to get to 25%, and once it's at 25% we can then introduce some fuel into the engine and that should get it started. So here we go. Right, we'll start engine number 2 first. You see the start valve's opened and N2 is spooling up. You see the engine is actually starting, but it's not going very fast. We've got to get the actual turbine rotating at first, get that at 25, and then we can introduce some fuel, and we should see a higher speed as the fuel starts flowing. You can watch the fuel flow and oil pressure and stuff here. You should be able to hear the engine starting. Just give that 2 seconds to start up, then we'll do the next engine. Just waiting for that to go out. So that engine started. We will do the same with the second engine. Again, waiting for this to get to 25%. There's no fuel flowing at the moment because we haven't turned the fuel on. There we go. Starting there, we'll just wait for the valve to close. Once the engines have started, we can turn off the APU because the engines will be powering the plane, and we can get going. You should be able to hear that engine spooling up. There we are, engines are started. Turn that off. Now we need flaps 5. That's the flap indicator there. This is the lever. You see flaps 1, flaps 2 and flaps 5. So we'll wait and see if it reaches 5. Oops. There we go. So we are all good to go. I need to switch onto engine power. Now why are my fuel things showing low pressure? It's a bit odd. I think Xplane's just had a little bit of a funny 5 minutes. But anyway, let's switch the electrical systems over to the engines. There we go. Turn the APU off. Turn taxi lights on. And turn the APU off and bleed from the engines. So we're all good to go. That light should go out. Everything's set. Yeah, everything's set. So we're ready to go. Now I don't have a pushback cart, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use reverse thrust. So I'll just hit this button on my joystick, and you should see light lighting up over here. Saying the reversers are green. I'm going to release the parking brake, and I'm going to just increase throttle and push back using the engines instead of a pushback cart. So we are off. Just look out the window so you can see we're reversing. I'm not sure how audible the engines are. Hopefully this recording software is picking it up. I'm just going to do this as quickly as possible, really. Just need to do a little turn. Right, so we're basically on the taxiway anyway. Turn off reverse thrust. There we go. Right, so engines go forward now. So let's get on the taxiway properly. Normally you would have a pushback cart pushing you into the correct position, but unfortunately I don't have it at the moment, so we have to do it the unrealistic way. So now begins the taxi out to the runway. See on the navigation display down there, our ground speed is 20. You don't want to go too fast, or maybe you do, but I'm afraid this is part of flight simming. It's done in real time. You can do sort of long haul flights that take like 7 to 9 hours, and you have to sit in front of the computer for 7 to 9 hours. There's no shortcuts. I'm actually a member of Thomson Virtual, which is a virtual airline where you fly charter flights and things like that and accumulate hours. I enjoy it. Each to their own, I guess. I've gone a little bit too fast. I'm just trying to speed this part up because it's the boring part. But we are about to enter the runway, so I'm going to turn on the landing lights, and I'm going to switch to the outside. Might be a bit loud. Hopefully you can still hear me. Yeah, about to enter the runway. What we have to do is we have to actually go to the top of the runway there and just do a turn around. We've got to backtrack. Let's get back in the aircraft. We've got to backtrack before we can take off. So just bear with me while I do the boring bits. What we'll be looking for after takeoff on this display here is about 15 degrees of pitch. We want to get to about 180 knots, and when we get to 3,000 feet altitude, which is here, I'll switch the autopilot on, and hopefully we'll maintain the climb rate at 180 knots to get us up to 11,000 feet. A bit bumpy on the taxiway, so let's swing around. Zoomed in a bit too much. Like I say, there's an AI aircraft. He shouldn't be there, but he is. Can't do us any damage though, so we'll just pretend he's not there. We were here first at the end of the day. Just want to get lined up with the centre line. That looks like he's leaving anyway. I don't have any weather set up, it's just clear blue skies, no wind. Where's he going? We'll just wait a second. Could switch to this view if it's any better. No, I'll stick with the cockpit. Right, we're gonna have to fly through them, I'm afraid. So here we go. Hopefully this is picking up the engine noise, otherwise it's going to be a pretty boring video. Out of the way, please. Right, so airspeed's climbing. 80 knots there. We're looking for about 140, 145, and I'll do a rotate. And then we'll pitch for 180 knots. Now pitch for about 15 degrees, I think. Landing gear up. Actually, it's not 84 degrees. I wanted 78. I always forget that part. Pitched a little bit too high. We're at 20 degrees. You can see the airspeed is dropping slightly, so I'll just pitch down. Airspeed should start to rise. But we're just gone 3,000 feet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into vertical speed hold mode, turn the autopilot on, turn speed hold on, and turn heading hold on. So now the autopilot is in complete control of the aircraft. It's holding 180 knots. We are climbing. Just pitch the nose down slightly. Pitch at 2,500 feet per second to 11,000. We're currently only heading to 078 there, and as you can see we're kind of surrounded by mountains here, so I can't quite do my turn yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tune the radios. They should already be tuned in actually. We're currently tuned to 313, which is the Rattenberg VOR, so what I'll do is I'll turn that on. And you can see that is the directional arrow, if you will, to the NDB. So wait until that gets to 60 degrees. As you can see, it's at about 65 degrees. And once that's done, we will then change our heading to 60 degrees. So now we're going to basically head directly to that NDB. And we're still climbing. Currently at 6,000 feet, we're going for 11,000. When we get to 11,000, the aircraft will level off by itself. I'm just going to increase to 210 knots now. I'm going to bring the flaps up. So flaps are coming up, airspeed's going to increase, and this warning is going to disappear because that's the flap speed limit. But so obviously, since the flaps won't be an issue anymore, basically go as fast as we'd like. So you see the airspeed's climbing. We're still holding basically 2,500 feet per minute. Sorry, did I say a second before? Actually, what is that tracking? I'm tracking the wrong the wrong thing. I should have started with 303. My bad. But you can see we're still on 060, heading towards the Rattenberg VOR. If I bring up the map, you'll be able to see where we are. We're currently here. We've taken off, and then we just started our turn. We're heading towards Rattenberg. Should be there in about 5 minutes. Let's just lock the landing gear. Flaps. We're still flaps 1, so yeah, missed that part. So flaps are fully up. We're currently at 9,600 feet. Just do a quick look outside, so you can see we're above the major peaks. We've got 1,000 feet to go. That's the 1,000 feet warning remaining left to climb. See, the vertical speed has disappeared now because the autopilot is going to hold 11,000, and you'll see the plane start to level off as it approaches 11,000. So we should start seeing some scenery. There you go, there we are. You can see we're kind of tracking up this valley thing here. What's going to happen is when we get to the Rattenberg VOR, this blue indicator is going to swing around as we pass it. It's actually going to point sort of to our 6 o'clock because it'll then be behind us. So then we'll do our turn to 210 to then intercept this course here, which is already tuned in. But we'll get to that in a second. We'll just need to keep watching for this this blue line moving, which basically tells us that we've gone over the top of the Rattenberg VOR. Just switch to the map again. Yeah, so we're not far off, we've got halfway there. So we've got to find something to talk about. Let's have a look outside. Let's watch us fly by. See the airport in the distance there. So you can see we would have a very, very bad day if we weren't at 11,000 feet. The trickiest part of this approach really is just managing kind of your airspeed, because if you drop too low in terms of airspeed, your plane isn't as manoeuvrable, and you really obviously must manoeuvre it into the correct position, otherwise you fly smack into the side of a mountain, which is never any good. You just got to make sure that you're kind of at the correct altitudes, the correct headings, and the correct airspeeds throughout the approach. Really, sometimes it can be quite difficult, especially the sort of the final turn into Innsbruck, because well, you don't really have, you're between two mountains, and obviously there's not really that much margin for error, but like I say, it is good fun. You can see that that line is starting to creep over as we approach it. It's starting to creep to the right, which basically means we're going to go to slightly to the left of it, which is handy because we're going to do a right hand turn anyway. So we're getting there. Where are we? Almost there. And I'll just run you through a few extra things. This is the glide slope indicator for the VOR we're going to track, for the radial that we're going to track. And you can see the further away from it we get, the glide slope is actually coming up to meet us. Because if you imagine the glide slope is kind of it's a line which leads from our current altitude down to the airfield, imaginary line. And again, we've got the imaginary centre line of the radial from that VOR that we need to track as well. I mean, all this kind of stuff will become clear when we are actually tracking it. We're going away from it at the moment. As you can see, this is kind of creeping out to the right a little bit more. We're getting closer and closer. This is showing us we're actually 21 miles away from the VOR that we're tracking. We're getting further and further away. Again, this is starting to creep out slightly, and it'll get faster and faster the closer we get. Obviously, because the difference, the distance is getting less and less. So we've got everything set up. I'm going to set auto brake for landing to set auto brake 2, which basically means when we touch down, the brakes will automatically come out, because it is quite a short runway as well in Innsbruck, and sometimes you can come in quite high because of the nature of the approach. So you need all the stopping power you can get, really. And don't forget, obviously this is a simulator. I'm not a pilot, and normally you would have an actual co-pilot handling the brakes and things like that when you were landing. So the NDB is getting, the discrepancy is getting further, bigger and bigger. You can see it's starting to swing around now, so we're about to pass it. So what we're going to do is we are going to change our heading once we pass it. Here it goes. Let's just watch it. There we go. So it's just gone off. It's now behind us, so we can start our turn. We're going to turn to 210 degrees. And since we're going to be tracking the 255 radial back, set to 210. The plane will turn to this heading here, 210, which, as you can see, we're going to be following this track. It'll give us 45 degrees left to turn when we do actually intercept this radial, and this starts to come across to the centre, which means we're on course. We're going to follow the glide slope down. We don't need to descend yet because the glide slope's above us. When it starts, we'll go into vertical speed mode, and we'll go down to 5,000. I'll just set that to 5,000 now, so that when we're ready we can just increase the vertical speed and decrease the vertical speed and just head down. I'm going to switch to Absan now, which if you remember was 313. And you can see the green arrow there is pointing to where we need to be. And remember, it needs to be 255 degrees. So we need to get ready. Basically, when this starts to move across, we're going to start turning immediately to intercept and track it on the radial of 255 degrees. So it shouldn't be too long. In fact, there it goes now. So let's just turn to 255. Adjust it slightly just so we can follow it down. You can see we're tracking it quite nicely. It's in the centre. We've got to watch this. The glide slope indicator is just going to start coming down now. Once it gets to the centre, that means we're actually on it. So get the 255 degrees. There we go. Yeah, once this glide slope indicator here gets to the centre. That means we're on the glide slope, so we need to follow it down. I'm going to slow us down to 190. And I'm just going to put flaps out. I'm going to give us flaps 5 to maintain the descent. So we should see flaps 5 in a second. Airport's there. Like I say, we've got to fly all the way around there and then circle back. So we're coming up on this glide slope now. I think it'll be about 800 feet per minute descent. So when we get on the glide slope, I'll change that. But if we just look outside slightly, we don't want to descend too quickly because there's this mountain top in the way, and we don't want to go down through that because planes don't really fly very well if you're flying through the mountains. So we're just coming up on the glide slope now. I'm going to drop the nose down. Let's start with 850, and we'll just see how the glide slope tracks. You can see the plane starting to descend there now. It's going to descend to 5,000. Remember, we need to be at 5,000 by the time we get to Absam. We're slightly to the right of the localizer, sorry, of the radial for the VOR for the radio beacon. So we're just going to change to 250. Let's get rid of that. I don't know what that's for. Just to get us back on track. And you can see we're slightly above the glide slope, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pitch down a little bit to 1,000 feet per minute and see if that can get us down in time. You see this green bar is actually where we are going to be by the time we reach that altitude, so we're actually going to be past the airport, which is there. So we need to descend a little bit more rapidly, or we need to slow down. So I'm going to take it down to 175, and I'll just pitch down very slightly, 1,200 feet per minute, and see if that makes a difference. Because we're losing the glide slope very slightly. We're above the glide slope, which is better than being below in this environment, but we do need to descend a little bit faster to get back on the glide slope, to get to 5,000 by the time we get to the Absan beacon. Yeah, we need to go down a little bit faster. Not to worry. I'm going to give it flaps 10 just to slow us down a bit more. Get back on track because we've drifted slightly to the left of the radial. So you can see here, if I just move across, we have distance measuring equipment to this VOR, to this radio beacon, is 15. Now what we need to do is when that gets to, I think 6.5, I think it's 6.4, we need to make our turn, which will be where at the Absan VOR. I don't know if that's kicked in yet. Yeah, you can just see the blue line there. So we'll watch for that. But basically, it is at it's about 6.5 miles is when we need to make our turn to the Innsbruck NDB to start our base leg. We don't want to go past Absan because that means we'll need to make more of a turn. So what I'm going to do is, again, we're drifting slightly, so I'm just going to change the heading there. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change the I've got it set to follow the VOR, which is basically going to take us to Absan by 6 miles, and I'm going to put in the Innsbruck VOR, which is on 420. If you remember, I'm just going to turn that on this side, and you can see that's currently on a heading of 240. By the time we get to 6 miles on this VOR, that will actually have moved to about 230. So that's the turn we'll need to make, and after that it's a heading of 264 on the base leg, ready for the final approach. We're quite high on the glide slope here. How high are we? We're not too bad. Not too bad. We'll be down by 5,000 in in about 4 miles. I could give it a little bit more, just a little bit more. Maybe slow it down to 165. But again, I have to keep some speed up because obviously we need some manoeuvring speed for doing our turns. So we're at 9 miles. Hopefully we'll be down to 5,000 by 6. If not, we're going to go down to 3,700 by Absan, and I'm going to dump the landing gear out to give us a little bit of drag. Not Absan, Innsbruck. So it's just telling me 1,000 feet to go. We've got 2 miles left before Absan. But you can see this Innsbruck Innsbruck NDB has moved. It's moving towards 230, so that's going to be our turn. We're just about coming up on 5,000. We're at 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick this to 3,700 because that's where we need to be by the time we reach Innsbruck. We're at 7 miles. Just looking for 230 on the on this display, on the navigation display. When we get there, I'm going to change to 230. I'm going to dump the landing gear out. Increase the vertical speed so we get to 3,700 feet by Innsbruck. And we have to keep a close watch on this because this is the critical part of the flight. This is directing us to Innsbruck, which is straight ahead, and there's also a mountain straight ahead, which is about to give us a very bad day if we don't make this turn across the ridge. So I'm going to give flaps 15. After that, once we've made our turn, I'm going to put out flaps 25, and when we come and do our circle, once we've done our circle and approach, our base approach into the runway, I'm going to put out flaps 30, and we will be good to land. I'm going to arm the speed brakes because we won't need any spoilers for landing. Just keeping a close eye on this NDB here. Once that starts to swing around, it really is time to turn. I need to slow down a bit once we have made the turn. But we are good to go. The runway is down here somewhere. Don't know if we'll be able to see it. I can't see it, but it's down to the right. We'll probably see it when we turn. Just again, as you can see, we're heading straight towards the mountain. This NDB is currently straight ahead of us. It's about over here. So when we get to here, it'll be showing an offset. So we really need to make our turn to 264 degrees, which will take us along the side of this ridge. So as soon as it starts to really swing, I'll dial in the new heading. So we're fully configured. Well, we're not fully configured, but we've got the landing gear out just to give us plenty of drag. It's starting to move there now. We're at 3,700 feet. We've got to go along this ridge here, so we're just getting ready to turn. We are level. So I'm starting to do it now. 264. Sometimes this aircraft is a bit dodgy on the approach, on its handling of headings and things. But once it starts to straighten up, we should actually be able to see the airfield. There it is. Yeah, you see it's done an extra 10 degrees, so it's going to start teetering back. Don't worry, it will sort itself out. 264. So we're actually going to skim this ridge. Once it's made its turn. In fact, I think we've gone a little bit too far across, so I'm just going to adjust that very slightly. I'm going to put out flaps 25. I'm going to slow us down to 155. Let the aircraft stabilise. I'm going to get very, very close to this ridge. And Watch our radar altitude there. We're at 500 feet above ground level. Does not look like that at all. Probably a little bit too close to the ridge, but who cares? Someone's parked a hot air balloon in there, in the way. Yes, we are very, very close. Probably did our turn a little bit too late. Never mind. That's why it's so critical to be on the ball. You better move your hot air balloon, mister. Otherwise you're going to have a bad day. Wait for this DME here to get to about 3.5 to 4 miles, and that's when we begin our turn to final. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the auto throttle. Now I'm in charge of throttle, trying to maintain the airspeed of 155 for now. I'm going to then take out the autopilot completely and just fly this manually. So we're at 3 miles. I'll turn at 3.5. Just take out the autopilot. So we begin our turn. I'm going to put out the final flaps once I've started making the turn. Just pitching up slightly. Airspeed's dropping slightly. Just monitoring the instruments all the time. Don't want to go too slow because we'll just stall into the ground. And we don't want to descend too fast, otherwise we'll end up in the ground. But we don't want to go too fast and turn too little because otherwise we'll overshoot the runway for turning. So we're descending while turning at the moment, and we can't see the airfield yet. We just have to assume it's there. Just gone a little bit too fast there. So hopefully, if we've done our job properly, airport should be just ahead. I think we've gone slightly far across. Oh, there we are. So it's straight ahead. The poppy lights are showing that we're slightly too high, so we're just going to descend a little bit. It should be too white and too red if we're perfectly on the glide slope, but we aren't. As soon as we touch down, I'm going to put the thrust reversers on and crank those engines up to get us slowed down. So I'm having to descend pretty hard here. Airspeed's going up, so I'm just going to throttle back. Just need to get lined up with the runway. Just watching the rate of descent. So we don't want to come in too fast because it is quite a short runway. Just going to straighten that up slightly. 500. The lights should start to go red, basically telling us there we are. Just going to throttle up slightly. Too white and too red is perfect, so we're on the glide slope. Just need to pull up slightly so we don't go too low. Just follow this in, just slowing down slightly. About 50 feet I'll retard the throttles. Hopefully not die.
50, 30, 20, 10.
Flaring. Just floated slightly. Right, reverse thrust. Should get to 60 knots. And then turn the thrust reversers off. So we can make this turn off back to the runway. 70, 60, a little bit of braking. Still at 50 knots, and we've slightly overshot. Never mind. So we have to go at the end of the runway to turn around. Right, I'll just turn the auto brakes off. Just going to spin her around. But at least we're down safely, and that's how to basically fly the approach into Innsbruck. Like I say, I'm not a pilot. Hopefully I'll get better at it. But I hope you found that interesting. I'll just pull up onto the ramp. Start the APU, ready for powering the engines down. And the flaps up. Disarm the spoilers. Oops, it's already disarmed. And we'll just park straight ahead. APU is coming online. Just wait for the light. There, just still waiting for the APU. There we go. So switch the APU, and then we can just knock the engines off. Set the parking brake, of course. There we are. We are down. We are here. We have arrived in Innsbruck. And we didn't explode. So let's have a look at the map, just so you can see the route that we took. So we took off that way, we went to Rattenberg, we came across, and then we descended to Absam, crossed to Innsbruck, and did our circling approach. Not too shabby. So if you've got any comments, remember I'm not a pilot, I don't pretend to be, but I enjoy using the flight sim, and hope you enjoyed the video. So thank you for watching, see you in the next one.